robotic process automation, the current products that are available, and as well as the killing use cases in the business. Now, as part of that, the speaker, I would like to introduce Manisha Velankar. So she's a vice president from Accenture, and she takes care of pre-sales. And her current, as part of her current role, she's delivering innovative solutions for the telecom industry. And on her credit, with her 2 decades of experience, she's also got, she has been always a pioneer in adopting latest technologies like cloud, DevOps, cognitive computing, etc. So now over to you, Manisha. Yeah.
Sure, great. Thanks for that. Thanks for a great introduction. So, like any other speaker, good morning to you all. One more time, good morning. Wonderful, that's great. And if that has not charged the room completely, I would request for a video play. I would rather like to start with a video. Okay, so what was the message? What is the message here? What the video and, this is what Accenture is saying, but what the message here is, key message here is, it's not about only, the workforce of the future is going to be not only humans, but it's going to be humans plus intelligent machine. And the whole, ecosystem is going to work around both the workforces working together, and it's not very far. It's not very far. Right? That's the message that we want to give. And as I said, this is Accenture video, but this is common across the industry. Take any company who's talking about robotics today, you will have very similar messages coming from the industry. Okay, so Lakshmi's already done the introduction here, but just to iterate, what I'm going to cover today is this is about robotic process automation, and these are the things that I'm going to cover. It's market trend. Look at how the market is from robotics perspective. What is this whole RPA concept? Look at what are the products. I assume that most of you are coming from development or in operations background. Look at what are the products which will help us as developers, as the IT software professionals to use these products in the market. And look at a couple of business case studies where we have successfully, as an Accenture, implemented this. Also cover the industry case studies and look at the conclusion. So that's briefly what I'm going to cover. Right, and I think hygiene factor, right? Just keep mobile phones on silent, please. Robotic process automation, market view. Okay, so this is the Gartner hype cycle. So we hear every now and then we hear a lot of terms. We hear, smart robots, IoT, there is VPA, then there is deep learning. There are various terms which we get hit by every day, and I'm sure more and more that we go to such certain programs, there is what Gartner has to say about this. They are into continuous research, right? They are into continuous research, talking to industries, talking to people who are implementing this, adopting this kind of business problems that they are into. The way they define the hype curve for robotics is three things. They say there are three technologies which are at hype and which will continue to be hype for next 5 to 10 years. One of them is smart robots. Other of that is blockchain and digitalization. And third is virtual VPA, virtual private assistants. These are the three things which Gartner is reporting by the industry. And that's what you can see, those color codes there, 2 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. Those are the technologies for here to come and stay. That's the message from Gartner and industry perspective. Next one, this is our own, when I say our own, is Accenture has gone and spoken to 500 different clients. And Accenture works across the industry, right? We have banking and finance, insurance, manufacturing, telecommunication, products. We operate in about 5 to 6 different industry verticals. And across these verticals, we've spoken to 500 different customers. And this is what on the, this side of the slide says what the customer from a top-down perspective they feel like. So, about 84% of them, from a top-down perspective, again, I'm saying the people who have to look at next 5-year plan for my workforce planning. So from 84% of them, they said that I'll have to train not only human beings, but I have to make a training plan for a robot. Because that's something different, right? Training plan for a robot. So it sounds difficult or sounds weird, but 84% of management team today feels that they will have to train both the workforces. So that's on the training side. On the logistics side, imagine there are robots who are coming and sitting beside you in an office. There are robots who are moving around like physical robots. How do you plan your logistics? How do you plan your workplace? So about 70, again a very, very big number here, 72% of those 500 customers felt that they will have to plan not only their workforce training, but also their place, the workplace. And about 35% of them felt that we'll have to definitely automate the jobs. There are 35% of the job which will be automated, certainly automated. This data I'll have to, quantify it here, that we spoke more to, it was largely, while 500 across industry, largely done by banking and insurance as a vertical. Can I get a quick sense of the crowd here? Who's from banking and insurance? Okay. Okay, and manufacturing or telecommunication? I'm talking of your customers that you serve to. Huh? I mean, we are all developers, right? We are all probably coming from Wipros and Accentures and HPs of the world, but what are our end customers? Whom are we serving to? So my question is more from whom are we serving to? So manufacturing or telecommunication, banking, insurance, finance, this is more relevant to, the whole automation is, or let me ask, who's from operations? There is a technology and there is an operations. Anyone who's handling L1, L2, L3 tickets as their day's job? Wonderful, so we've got one there, okay. So we've got all developers here, is it? Okay, how many developers? Okay, that tells me. Okay, fantastic, great. So these few slides initially just will tell you that whatever you're developing today is how customer are looking at it, right? How customer is going to have an expectation from IT industry when we are developing it. When we are developing software, so we may want to do, a .NET or a Java or a wireframe or, latest in the technology. But I guess I will leave this thought with you here on the table that what is it that matters to customer and where is customer going to invest money, right? So this is how top to bottom view is. And from bottom up, when we spoke to employees, and this is, mind you, when I come from telecommunication industry, and let's say an operations that you have to run for a Bharti Airtel like an engagement, or Vodafone like an engagement. We are a nation where you have to run operation for billions of people, millions and millions of people. For those kind of operations, There are a lot of repetitive tasks. There are a lot of repetitive tasks, and when we speak to those operations people and the people from ground up, what they say is 25% of the employees, they spend their repetitive tasks. The jobs are very mundane. You have to keep solving the same ticket. You have to keep doing the same job over and over again. So 25% of such tasks can be automated. And well, these are repetitive tasks. There could be rule-based tasks. Again, the rules and the procedures are pretty standard. 80% of them can be automated, and about 45%. The last one is very interesting, last but not the least, is they are saying there is no need to come up with a new technology. There is no need to have a completely different approach. With the current set of tools, current set of languages, current set of the programming languages and the tools that we have in the market, we can just use it, and 45% of the current technologies can be used to do the RPA. Right? So these are some numbers, very interesting numbers, showing from top to bottom how the market is looking at the RPA as a whole thing. All right, so having said that, I think in the previous slide I wanted to lay a few examples also further. You've seen this Amazon WhatsApp video? Amazon video, how when you're ordering a book from Amazon, how is that order completely fulfilled? Right? The order is captured from your portals. The portals are standard, the ones that we have developed, that what is your name, what is your credit card number, what is the book that you want, you place an order. Once you place the order, it goes and finds out, Amazon is obviously a global company serving global customers. It has to go and find out the city, the nation, the city, the state, the nation, and find out where is that warehouse from where it can service you. Right? That is an algorithm which it can run at the back end. But interestingly, in a warehouse, it's a huge miles and miles of place from where he has to go and pick a particular book. Right? So, I don't know, most of you should have seen this video, but this is a video which was running on WhatsApp. It was very viral once upon a time on WhatsApp. That how is that drone who's going to that particular warehouse in Amazon, he's going and understanding, okay, I have to go and get a science fiction book, so I have to go and traverse this much, go to a science fiction section. In science fiction, I have to go and look at this track, this particular book, and pick it up. It is all on the OCR, it's all on the optical character recognition that it works. It goes, picks up that books, comes, packages that books, and delivers it. So if you really see, I actually, in this entire workflow, I would hardly have any manual interventions, right? Hardly any, just if there is an exception in the whole process, or if there is an order entry which has to be linked to that robo in particular, then I really need a human being. Otherwise, this entire warehouse can be manned only by few people. Absolutely few people, handful of people giving the Amazon service. As simple as, giving a book, ordering a book, which is what Amazon is famous for. And there was a news, they deployed 10,000 such robots already. They are called as warehousing robots. Right? So you have various kinds of robots. There is industrial robots. In industrial robots, especially if you have to go and do something in the submarines. Right? Submarine is deep down in the sea. It's very difficult to send a human being there. So there are drones which are usually sent to submarines to do the scientific, experimentation that one has to do. Another example is, let's say, in the medical field. In the medical field, there are injections, etc., which have to be, or medicines which have to be disposed, which are very hazardous for human, being. These are absolutely the places where robots can go. Absolutely the place where you can deploy a robot or think of deploying a robot. So just give you a gist of all the industries, a small sample use cases where it can, where it can work well, right? Yeah. With that, I move to what is robotics. Okay. So this is a little small, neat explanation of how the things fall in from a robotics perspective. Well, I'm 2 decades old here in the industry, but those who are here for some time now, for last decade, this is how industry has moved. We have, in a banking context, again, I'm taking a banking example, but in a banking industry, this is something which is very easy to relate, is we used to have, local banks. We used to have local banks, and there was no centralized, processing. We used to have an account in every single branch around in Bangalore. I would have maybe my earlier generation would have at some other place, I would have at some other place. There was no centralization. Then came in core banking system, CBS. What you would have heard of, if you have heard of, there's iFlex by, there was iFlex or FlexCube by iFlex, and which is now Oracle. TCS has its own system. Infosys has its own system. So these were the things. Centralized systems were implemented. And these systems were implemented, obviously all parts of the globally, US, UK, Europe, wherever you think of. Centralization was first transformation journey, or centralization was the lever which was used for bringing in the automation. Why I have put this slide is the level of automation that the industry has gone through. The point that I'm trying to drive here is the level of automation that we have gone through. So from a localization to a centralization place, and then, the next one is so very famous, relocate is Bangalore was the word. Right? This is the place which created a history, onshore-offshore model, a classic onshore-offshore model. We brought all the jobs from US, UK, all jobs were brought in India to bring in the cost efficiency. That Bangalore actually was a word which was used then. Then there was standardization. While we implemented this COTS products or these core banking systems, there were ways and means by which it was implemented. It was done differently by different people for different banks, different customers. So there was some amount of standardization which was brought in. There were in telecommunication, I can say, there is this telemanagement forum talking about ETOM and SID and those kind of things, standardization. Next was optimize. In Accenture, we love this. We really, really love this. It's called as Lean SI guidelines or a Lean System Integration Program. Anything, everything, even if I do 2 projects, I will make it a Lean SI guideline, and I'll make sure next all 10 projects follow the same. We just love it. You look at GE, you look at Accenture, you look at any Japanese company, they are all after Lean SI. They are all after the lean and mean model. That's not mean, sorry, lean. Then comes digitization. OCR is common, the optical character recognition. Then you have credit. Then you have the checks. These days there are checks which are in different format. The checks that we write. There is an MICR code. There is an there is a banking code, a branch code, and the amount that you're depositing. So there is an digitization which has brought in there. And last one is, now here is the phase where we are in. Today, this is the phase that we are into, is automating the whole thing. Wherever there is human interaction, wherever there is repetitive work, wherever there is a rule-based work, it is a candidate for optimization, for automation. And that's where we are into today, is automation and cognitive computing. That's the complete transformation journey when I talk about automation. This is favorite for all these developers, for all the world here. This is a favorite slide. We all love to draw this. Okay, so let me take a manufacturing example here. What happens in manufacturing, let's say for Maruti Suzuki like company, right? Maruti Suzuki today in India owns about 47% of our market, right? It's almost like 50%. Almost like 50% is with Maruti Suzuki today. And with that kind of an organization who's making every month, mind you, every month they are making a magnitude of 2 to 3 lakhs car per month. Okay, 2 to 3 lakhs car per month are made by them. Imagine the kind of production line, the kind of ordering, the kind of invoicing, account ledgers, the kind of purchase process, the entire whole thing will go in. Right, and you have multi-party, it's called as chained supply chain management. So Maruti buys the parts from somebody, that somebody, buys part from somebody, that person is buying from someone else. Maruti is selling it to a dealer is coming and selling it to us. It's a complete chained supply chain management. And imagine the kind of, simple process, absolutely simple process as invoicing, right? If invoicing is one process that we consider, invoicing is nothing, but Maruti gives a purchase order to the spare part fellow. Spare part fellow just services, it's made to order, right? It's made to stock. It is just buying from the stock, getting it, and delivering it. Just as simple as this process could take days. could really take days. And on this example, what is it this whole architecture is going to do? So me, the larger community here, who is the automation developer, we are the ones who are going to build, test, and deploy these automations, right? And there are products coming up. How am I going to do it? Is coming up in the next slides, but this community here, we are supposed to be those automation developers. We want to do the DBT of such kind of a system that we will develop. So invoice management system, simple as that, absolutely simple as that. Sounds very simple, but will have a huge impact, huge saving for a Maruti like an organization. That's the first community down there. Then there is so I just took that as a leftmost corner. Let me look at the architecture here. So, the workflow that I defined, right, this entire supply chain workflow, this workflow resides in the automation application server, then the logics, then the, rules, right, the rules and the data of those vendors. Well, there are various things which comes into play. There is a taxation which plays, there is a, legal thing which plays, and there are multiple rules which goes in this database. Then there is an application server, and this is compute. So there is compute, storage, and network. So you have security and network laid out here. The client applications are on the top. The kind of the invoice processing, etc., it's lying at the top. The GUI screens are at the top. They are split by the network boundary. So this is how the architecture for a typical robotic process automation system that we develop looks like. And mind you, this is developed by some kind of tools and not necessarily a completely, a Java or a .NET based, a full-blown application written. It need not be. Rather, it is not actually, if you ask me. It's not. Mostly, it's based on the COTS product which are available in the market. You take those products, run them here, deploy it, define your server, and you're ready to go. So that's the kind of architecture typically which is, implemented for RPA system. And so once you have this whole system up and running, those are the rest of the communities that you need. So you have robot monitoring and scheduling. So to schedule this batch jobs, right, to schedule this whole application, this batch job, there are these set of people who will come and schedule it. And interestingly, this is RPA NOC, Automation Infra Monitoring and Change Management NOC. Interestingly, so these guys are going to go and check what is the health of my robo, right? Like we used to go and, it's like as if going and checking the health of a human being. We are all, sent to, on an annual basis, we are sent for our annual health checkup. Here is actually a system or a set of people who are actually checking the health of the system. And based on, you can imagine the, the millions and millions of transactions that this application server and this virtual or physical machines they will run. Imagine the kind of, transaction that will run in a given minute. There could be some order fallouts, or there could be some things which are not working. There are some things which get stuck. In that case, you have process user who will, there is a handoff which is done for any kind of exceptions or for any kind of issues. There are these handoffs which are done by the process users. So that's the community which comes into picture. That's the usual typical RPA architecture that we have seen wherever we have implemented, that we have seen. Security, of course, forms a very, very important part, because here you have data you have data in motion and you have data in, at rest. So security is absolutely extremely important for this architecture here. Benefits of, benefits of RPA. This was again a very interesting study done by McKinsey, right? McKinsey, Leslie Willock is the lead researcher there, and a very interesting study done for 16 large implementations of RPA, which McKinsey had studied. And what they found is, this is our, again, whosoever are into little, project management, program management kind of thing, they will understand this very well. That cost, quality, time are the absolutely very key things of any system, any IT system that we develop and deliver. So that study showed that in terms of cost savings that RPA can bring in, it shows here as 80% as the average. But in some of the cases, the numbers were mind-blowing, really starting from 30% to 200%. 200% of cost saving in first year, right there in first year of implementation. For the, for the developer community here, typically when we develop any IT system, right, we develop an IT system, we implement it, it becomes useful for the user, and the kind of payback typically taken is 3 years. Usually it takes about 3 years to get a payback, right? And we probably would bring in something like 30 to 40% of saving. But imagine the numbers. They are just way high than a normal IT solution that we would develop here. And this is no less data than a McKinsey presenting it, right? So that's cost, then cost, time, quality, as I said. So in terms of time, I already mentioned the same thing was compared if I was to do it with an IT system rather than an RPA-based project. It would have taken me 9 months, and it would have given me a payback of 3 years versus this system, which was developed in 3 months. It was developed in 3 months, gave me a payback in 1 year, and gave me a 200% cost saving. Imagine the two cases which they have presented in their paper. So it's absolutely a kind of no-brainer why management would pick this kind of programs for these industries. So that's cost saving, time saving in terms of implementation. Quality is obviously straightforward, right? It's a robo. He's always going to do the same thing with the same quality, with the same consistency. So with some exceptions, it'll actually 100% good. It's actually 100% great quality. Then about auditability. Auditability is regulation, banking regulation, insurance regulations. Again, very important for all those industries, showing those track records, even for telecom for that matter. How am I cutting my call data records? How am I charging the customer? What kind of taxes am I applying? All of those things have to be explained to TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority. Or for banking, I have to give it to RBI. And demonetization, we all know, right? The kind of power that RBI today has and the kind of auditability it can bring into the nation, right, is humongous. So the banks, they have to produce, they have to give this kind of data to RBI, or in that case, in McKinsey case, to the central authority. It becomes extremely easy because it's robots all reconciling the data, all transactions has been given to the authorities. Satisfaction, and this is actually a very important message, that while it sounds like automation, no people job cutting out, and no more jobs left, etc. This is myth. It's actually a myth. It's a complete myth. What it means is just we are taking out the mundane job out of, imagine we are all developing, right? We are all, when I ask if anyone doing L1, L2, nobody is doing here, but imagine we are developing the system here, and I'm saying I'm doing a system implementation, I'm doing a development job, and I'm giving the L1, L2, L3 ticket to someone else. But for that someone else, it's a very mundane job, right? For that someone else, it's a very, very boring job to solve those, same tickets, same L1, L2, L3 kind of tickets. He has to keep sit and solving it. So if something of this repetitive thing, if I take out of his life, it is so very job satisfying for him. Because if he is, let's say, an SME who's coming from a particular industry, banking or telecom or manufacturing, he can apply his knowledge that he has learned, right? If he's not doing development, fine. If he's doing a support job, he's coming from that industry, he's coming from that educational background. Why do I dump him in an a repetitive job? It makes actually much sense to implement that and give a higher satisfaction for those operations kind of people, right? It's not only the management who's going to get benefited, but it's actually the employee also who's going to get benefited. And this is very, very key message that I want to leave here is, automation is here. It's sounding to take away jobs, but it's sounding to take away the mundane jobs. It's all about mundane and repetitive jobs which will be taken out. So that's the benefit, FTE, productivity and all is. Productivity, obviously, 24/7, we all know shift B, shift C working, working in shift is obviously painful. Graveyard shift, obviously, never so productive. People who work at night, so productivity is given. So these are some of the very, very key benefits that robotics brings into business, and not only business, but also to lives, or to ourselves as developers, or the ones who are going to do the support jobs. we have seen this journey in the industry, how industry has gone through when we say RPA. So initially they started with an integrated desktop or a mashup. For an operations person, he has to go through multiple screens. He has to go through multiple screens, multiple systems, multiple database queries. Those kind of things, a person has to go through from when he has to do the operation support job. So integrated desktop or doing a mashup is one of the ways where you have to automate the UI. Let's say if you have got some 10, 15 UIs to be automated, then integrated mashup is the place to go. Process automation, wherever there is a rule-based thing, wherever there is a set standard processes defined, that's the place to look for. Process automation, set of tools, if you see there, OpenSpan, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, that's a vertical which is right now going really, first two things are really set in already, I would say. They are already set in, people are already working on it, and there is lots happening in these two areas. These are the words you would have heard always. OpenSpan, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, they are all, or Jacquard, they are all happening. The next thing is the digital virtual assistant. Nuance is a nuance or, that's not readable properly, but those are the systems. Again, these are the system we have seen as users. You go to any website, there will be as simple as Indigo. I was trying to just check in my flight. There was a chatbot which came in and said, is there a problem that you're facing in your check-in? And there was actually a person with a nice picture asking the questions. But I knew this is not a human being, this is a chatbot who's talking to me, right? Because I come from technology background, so I know this is a chat, but it made me feel so comfortable. He came and asked me, what is the issue? So I said, it's not checking in. So then he said, what is your PNR? So I gave a PNR. He said, your PNR seemed to be some error, and obviously there was some minor digit error here and there. So I gave that PNR and I was checked in. I felt so good about it. Attended, right? I was attended. With Indigo kind of thing, there are thousands of travelers, thousands and lakhs of travelers daily. It's impossible for them to give this kind of a person kind of a feel. That's where these kind of software come into play. The nuance, or for that matter, I went and looked at for a property search, and I was seeing where I can do my bookings. I had a very similar experience with, and I actually knew it's backend in the nuance, because I myself, I am providing these solutions to telecom operators today. Right? These are the solutions, these are exactly the solutions that we are providing to the telecom operators today. And the next era, which is really a few people have adopted, not yet completely there. The industry is, I would say, not completely there. Few people have adopted IPsoft or our own, when I say again, it's Accenture, I see her, so I feel this is all Accenture crowd. But it's Amelia is Accenture tool. We promote Amelia in a big way. This is a robot which will not only, it's a deep learning or a deep machine learning, deep sensitive learning. This Amelia will come and actually understand not only your needs, but your emotional needs also. How are you feeling today? How are you reacting? Based on all your reactions that you give in terms of your inputs, in terms of your text messages, whatever questions she will ask you and the way you will answer, she will know your mood. She will know your mood, she will know what you want to do today. It is at that level of automation, almost talking to a human being. It's almost talking to a human being kind of cognitive computing which is done there in IPsoft and in Amelia. Again, here we've seen large implementations in the bank and manufacturing sectors for Amelia. But to the customer, you want to work on a really great case study for the future? For sure. For sure, take it from me. For sure, work in industry for 2 decades, so can easily say this, what the future is going to be, based on my study. All right, so that's the tools journey for the community here. Next one is, and this is how, the Everest groups looks at it. So last one, I quoted example from McKinsey, the earlier one was from Gartner, few from Accenture, and this is now Everest Group. Everest Group is another analyst which looks at market. And what they feel, as I said, these are the three things to watch out for: Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and OpenSpan. So Automation Anywhere, as I mentioned, it works totally. Again, see, you have to take all this with pinch of salt. You have to really study this. If you really go look up Google it for this report will tell you where to use, when to use, what to use. Right? If you have to do UI automation if you have to work for operations team and give a solution for them, then Automation Anywhere is your tool. But let's say if it is a lot of process-driven thing, a lot of back-end things, if you have to deploy, not say on a desktop, but let's say on a cloud or at an enterprise level, then Blue Prism is the tool. Then Blue Prism is the place to go to. That is, it can run anywhere and very well suited for the back-end kind of a job or on the cloud kind of a job. OpenSpan is again something, and all these tools, right, they are leaders, obviously. They are leaders. There are challenges, which I mentioned, IPsoft and Amelia lies there. And others are catching up. NIS or Clayton, they are catching up. But what leaders are getting into Automation Anywhere, in particularly, they are getting into IQ bots. They are complementing their suite of things with IQ bots, which is intelligent quotient bots. There is NLP bots, natural language processing bots, security bots. It is just by every quarter on quarter, they have got a great roadmap, and they are implementing lots and lots of new features into their tools. So all of them have a great roadmap to look into. And whenever you want to suggest to your customer, look at what the roadmap that they are having today. It's maybe they have a limited capability today, but in next 2 years, if these products have a great roadmap, then some of you who are doing solution architecting role or a designer role, you should do this kind of a study. You should do this kind of a competitive analysis that which product is doing what and is suited for which industry, which work, which process, and what is their roadmap? What are they investing? What are their investor investing in these products? Right? So do that kind of a study. I've just put a glimpse here for you to know the products to watch out for and work for in the projects. Where and how do I apply this? Yeah, next. Okay, I think I've already spoken much about it here. It is just giving a chart of all the industries that I spoke of and the typical processes that will go in for automation. What I would like to quote on this particular slide is, if you look at F&A, which is finance and accounting, the account receivable and account payable, or the ledger balancing, these are very, very common processes, straightforward, no-brainer, you must take it up. And that's where that dark red sign says that these are the things you must take it up for automation when you're considering automation. Or for a manufacturing or for a banking, account payable, account receivable is given, absolutely given. The low-hanging fruit for implementing RPA. There are absolutely low-hanging fruits there. Or likewise, if you see at the right-hand side, there is a card activation or a fraud claim. If there is, let's say, an insurance, again, a very good example here is, if I have to put if there is a car accident and if I have to put an insurance claim, then what do I do as a car owner? I have to fill a form, I have to fill an insurance form, give my policy details, and submit it to, let's say, ICICI Lombard, for example. And then my job is done. But for ICICI, in the back end, there are whole lot of things, whole lot of processes that it has to follow. The claim has to go to a surveyor. A surveyor has to come and check your car if the car is working correctly or not. If the car, what amount of damage has been done, that kind of the surveyor has to do that. It has to give a report. That's process number one. Then process number two is, someone at the back end is going and checking your policy. He's going and getting your policy detail. Then he's going and talking to a credit history kind of a database. He's pulling up your credit history. How have you paid how have you paid up your own insurance claim? How you as an individual nationally stand good in terms of your credit history? Then he has to go and check your previous claims in the your previous claims for that insurance company, for ICICI Lombard, in last 5 years, how many times have you claimed? Then he has to give that kind of a report. Then he has to go and check, are you a thief or a good human being, or he basically has to check the national record. He has to go and check your national record of you as an individual. That's his step number 7, 8, I don't know how many, 9. What I listed down is there are 9 different steps that a claim process agent does in the backend. Right? There are 9 different places and processes that he's collecting the data from various sources, various systems, and to some of them he has to wait. Some of them there is no pre-integration which the bank has done. He has to just give a request and get back. Imagine the kind of, and this is a mundane job for him. Every day millions and millions of claim comes. Especially in country, in like India, where we have high volume, where we have high population, and the car growth, the car is obviously growing at a percentage, the claims are very high. And I know in Pune and Bangalore, even the kind of, sorry, I got distracted. So the kind of, issues that we have with cars and the claims are very, very high. So RPA for such things, right? When I say industry, for an insurance industry, it becomes very easy. It becomes very simple. Because if I automate all these 9 processes, right? If I automate, let's say out of 9, even if I automate 8, right? Even if I automate 8, imagine the amount of productivity that I will bring in. Imagine the kind of, that number of FTEs or the number of full-time equivalents daily which are doing this job for, let's say, ICICI Lombard or an ING Vaishya. Imagine the kind of, repetitive thing that I will bring down. Imagine the transactions that I will bring down. And that's, again, a case which is a very famous case by ICICI Bank. ICICI Bank, in September, right, as late as September 2016, went live saying that we have implemented robotic process automation, and this is a bank which has implemented this across 4,000 branches, 14,000 channels. When I say channels, it is ATM, POS, their internet banking, mobile banking, M-Wallet, which is pocket of ICICI, across 14,000 channels, across 4,000 branches. It has implemented this solution by RPA, the robotic process automation, and they've got a efficiency of 70%. 70% reduction in 200 processes, right? 200 processes, they have got efficiency of 70%. And this is, you can look up in Google, this is Chanda Kochar going live and saying about this, how RPA is beneficial to a bank like in India where we have great volumes. And why I keep giving India example, because when RPA is all about volumes. It could be a very simple process, right? It could be a very simple process. Like an insurance claim, for us it is so simple. But imagine at the back end, it is complex, repetitive, and volume. Right? This 9-step multiply by millions and millions of customers daily. That's the key when I talk of by industry. So these are some examples. Banks and insurance are the favorite ones for RPA. That's an outlook. That's a quick snapshot on what RPA is for an industry. Okay, I've got 15 minutes more. Let's see. Slides. Next, please. Okay. Again, a very, I'll see. Okay, right. So if I have to implement, okay, let's say even I'm simple as a program manager or a project manager of a given RPA program, then how do I go about implementing this? I've got the tools. I've understood this is required by my business. I know that this is going to bring in a saving. I know my business case is going to work. How do I make it work? How do I make this a reality? Right? How will I make it work? There are some 4 or 5 very important steps when you look at RPA. When you look at RPA, don't look at in, don't look at in pockets. You should always work with little loaded statement, but you should always work with a C level. This has to be always done from top to down. From top to down, it works extremely well. The entire organization has, any automation you bring in, unless you have top to down approach, everybody bought into it, it's not going to work. It will fail. Right? So you should have an entire project plan, a program plan, and an automation champion. She's the queen, he's the king of automation, and then that's how it's going to work. That's the step number 1. Step number 2 is to go and identify the processes. This diagram shows here that what is do's and don'ts. This is a very simple decision tree of what are do's and don'ts of RPA. So look at a process which has a predefined tree, which has got no human interaction, and especially if any kind of voice interactions required, just do not take it. In RPA, it's important to, selection by elimination. We all would have done competitive exams, right? In competitive exams, it's all about what is the right answer. What is that right answer? Rest of it is all wrong. It's all selection by elimination. So go and look at all those minuses which you should not do, otherwise the program will fail. Otherwise the program will fail. You are boiling the ocean, it will not work. It will just not work. Look at the processes where there is a predefined decision tree, there is no human interaction, there is a fixed input output, extremely important, because we as developers at times get pretty excited about implementing the technology and we try and go all over the place. So fixed input output, there has to be no, there has to be structured input. There cannot be a paper formats or unstructured input. Please don't take. Leave it to big data, leave it to cognitive computing, let them do that. Right? Here we are into automation, automation, automation. Then look at stable processes, matured processes. For last 10 years, it is working same way. For last 5 years, it is working same way. Go attack that, and that's your sweet spot. That's your candidate. And last is high volumes. High volumes is given because it's simple process for high volumes is a RPA candidate. So in terms of execution, that was your kind of third step. And other two steps which are also critical for a RPA program is once you have developed this, once you have identified the right candidate, once you are getting it going, implementing that and doing a change management is important. When I say change management, it's user adoption. Running an entire campaign on, running an entire campaign on RPA is extremely important. Having a change management team is very important, and certain large customers, they have gone ahead not only doing a change management, but they have gone ahead and bringing something called as center of excellence. There are companies and there are even IT companies who have center of excellence only for RPA. Right? So customers do that, and that's the last kind of phase for doing the implementing RPA. Case studies, I think I'll just leave at this because I've already spoken about multiple case studies here. There are a couple of them, but looking at the timeline, I would rather, run that video and then have also Ram join me for the Q&A session. So at this point, I'll just like to run the video, please.
The digital world will require businesses to see a little differently. As machines join the workforce, you may think they'll take center stage. But shift your focus, and you'll see that they'll help place people at the center. Intelligent automation will bring different skills, scale, speed, and reducing complexity that will change what's possible for all of us, allowing us to not just do things differently, but also to do different things. This isn't the dehumanized future of science fiction, but rather a love story between people and machines, as exciting new business models, job roles, and new products come into being through the power of intelligent automation. Seizing the opportunity will take a little restructuring to make artificial intelligence part of the bigger picture and use it to shake up the landscape. But the leaders know one thing for certain. Their people can now embrace new skills and new jobs because of the essential co-worker for the digital age.
Thank you. So the message is putting people at the center stage, right? Not cutting out jobs. That's not the message. Putting people at the center stage, let them do creative job. Do things differently, right? That's the message. Okay, so let me welcome Ram. He's here he's my colleague from Accenture, champion on RPA. I invited him, I requested him to join us so that he can answer your question, Q&A. So floor is open. We've got another 8 to 9 minutes for Q&A. So mics, please. I've spoken enough. And I hope that was useful. So, yeah, questions.
Hi, I'm Lakshmi from ANZ. I have this question. We have been doing automation for quite a long time, like probably STP or straight through processing or automation, these things are they increase efficiencies. When you come to robotics, when you add that word robotic process automation, what people expect or like what it is about new like drones or new human-computer interaction happening through robots or machines which are cognitive enough, which are able to make decisions on their own, where simple automation is not sufficient. So is cognitive computing different? Is human computer interaction or like the machine learning part of it and machines doing things on their own different from what we are talking as RPA, or is it all one and the same?
So RPA, the robotics process automation, what is it to do with the robots, like Rajinikanth iRobot, right? I mean, the word is the same, but the context in which it is used is different. When we talk about robotics process automation, we are actually talking about a software bot, which mimics a user in doing certain activities. It's as simple as that. For example, to fulfill an activity, the user has to go to 5 different screens, fill up some data, push some buttons, and then get back. If you build a bot that mimics that, then that is an RPA, in a very simplistic terms, okay? Because those activities are very repetitive, no thinking required. Right? You get the data, you go to screens, punch in the data, and then you're done with it. So can we replace that with the software bot? The answer is yes. What technologies do you use? She showed you a bunch of technologies, right? What is it to do with the other robots, the physical robots? Physical robots, they use a lot of AI. Because there you are getting into the whole world of the sense comprehension and acting, right? That mimics an user. I mean, a human being, actually. What do we do as a machine? We are a machine in a way, right? We sense. We have 5 senses. Right? And then we collect a lot of data through these sensors. Then it gets sent to the brain, the neural networks, which it does some processing, which is kind of, nobody knows, exotic processing. And then something comes out. What comes out is the words, the actions, and whatnot, right? The robots, the physical robots, they mimic the human beings in that particular way, and there is a lot of artificial intelligence involved. If you take each one of these sensors, eyes, they capture things. So you need optical character recognition. You need video recognition, image recognition, and those sort of things. That's what your eyes does, right? Similarly with your ears, you hear things. And then you have to comprehend it. I'm not talking about the other senses, for the lack of time. Comprehend. Comprehending means you make sense out of it, right? You say something to me. It's a bunch of words, basically. It's a frequency signal, right? That's what it is. But then my ear hears it, sends it to brain, and then the brain understands, okay, first of all, you are talking English, and then you are asking me these questions, and then it makes a meaning out of it based on how it is trained. How it is trained, when you are a kid, you have been told what to do when you are asked certain things. That's how it gets trained. Different culture behaves to the same things in different ways. Your brain gets trained, and then you act in that. So the robotics is primarily about mimicking those behaviors. It's a complex field. And the cognitive is a subset of robotics, because there's AI involved in it. For example, even in the RPA case, many RPA scenarios would involve optical character recognition. For example, invoice processing, in the procurement. You get an invoice document in a scanned form. And then what the end user does is scans the form visually and then take the data and then push it into SAP or some other system, right? Now, can we automate the end-to-end process? We know how to do the second part of the process, that is RPA. Use RPA to just automate all of that. The first part, which is reading the form, capturing the fields, can you do that automatically? Now, that's really where, technologies like OCR, optical character recognition, comes in, where you can capture data from this image, right? Or you can actually build a bot, like she was saying, you went to Indigo, right? You talk to bot in a natural language. You're not going to send an XML statement to the bot, right? And then the bot understands what you are saying, and that's the NLP, the natural language processing. Behind the hood, it basically does RPA. It goes to various systems, does whatever, right? That's an RPA piece. The front end of it is about interaction with the humans. And that interaction is very natural. They won't be sending you JSON data. They'll be talking English or whatever the language, the local language. So that's kind of how I put it.
Yeah, hi Manisha, thank you. I'm Jyoti from MasterCard. I have a question regarding maintainability of these robots. So let's say we have deployed it for a process which has 9 steps, but after a year or two we need to, enhance it for 2 more steps. So who has this responsibility of maintaining this? Does when you support it for the entire lifetime, or how does this maintainability of this robot works?
So I'm a Q&A bot. I will answer all the questions. You want to answer? I will yield to you. This is a women's conference, so no. I told you robot is a software. It's like any other software. You write a piece of code, somebody has to maintain it, right? So you have a run team which maintains your piece of code, and then they take change request if it is a sufficiently big change. If it is a defect, they go and fix it. For example, you might have missed an exception condition somewhere, and then the invoice is not getting processed. So you have to go and fix the workflow, the RPA workflow, right? So it's no different from any other software development project. You build software, you deploy software, and then you run the software, right? So you build a bot, you deploy the bot, you manage and run the bot. So you have the same methodologies, everything is applicable here. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, a second question on top of it, that do you think that it is cost efficient in terms of maintaining it? So let's say we have a setup of developers who might maintain it, and maintaining an iBot is cheaper than maintaining a set of development team. Is that true, or?
It is true, because it's a software, right? You don't need a lot of people to maintain that. You just need 1 or 2 people, 24/7, 3 shifts. They can manage all kinds of bots, thousands of bots. So that's the beauty of it. The cost of maintenance is fairly low as long as it is built correctly, right? So it is trivial, but people make a lot of mistakes in building trivial things. So as long as you build it properly, then the maintenance piece is much, much lower.
Okay, thank you both of you for the wonderful session. And I was overwhelmed. I love this field so much. And my question to it is very basic. I come from a developer background, and my question first is like, I hear a lot of data feed that you're going to do. So do you take an opportunity, a path that where you use a vendor to store those data, and do you connect to them to get those data feed by them and store there, or you have your own storage system? So how do you do that part?
I don't get your question. When you say data vendor,
so
what are you
you have
talking
a lot
about?
of data feed, right, where you collect data and you store it, and based on that you answer when a person questions. So where do you store the data?
So again, wherever the same decisions that you have to take for storing any mission critical data is applicable here. You need to first of all understand what is the criticality of the data. Are there any data privacy related to it? For example, you have a chatbot which asks you about your age and demographic information and your personal information. You need to store the data very carefully. And you need to store the data, first of all, decide where to store it, and then how to store it, and all the security aspects of it, like encrypting the data in the right way, data in motion, data in rest. She spoke about a whole bunch of that.
Yeah.
The security is a critical piece. At the end of the day, using RPA, what you are doing is automating some of the core mission critical process. Like, for example, invoice processing. You may think it is not mission critical. Just think about it. Invoice, I'm invoicing you for 10,000 rupees. And if the data is not encrypted, if somebody hacks into your process, they may change it to 10 lakh rupees. I'll be the beneficiary, right? I can't still use it. That's a different case, but I still be the beneficiary of it, right? So, so it is very, very important how you manage the data when you are doing RPA process. But the principles of how do you secure the data is same, regardless of, because it's a software, right? Do you put something on the cloud? yeah, depending on the mission criticalness, the data sensitivity, and whether the cloud provider supports all these various security measures, all of those questions, are going to should be answered, and the questions are going to be the same, and answers are going to be the same, regardless of whether it's a bot or something else.
Right.
I hope I did answer your question.
Yeah, I got the point. I mean, that was my next question, very much in line. You almost answered the security part of it. So because my concern is if I may not be always the person storing the data, there may be another vendor who is taking ownership of storing the data, and I can connect to him when I get a data feed. So security is a big aspect there.
Yeah.
Okay, and I look for a lot of opportunity there, and I come from a security background. I was looking for something like that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.